Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Ali and this here is Quasar, and in today's video we are going to be talking about fighting chinchillas and how and why chinchillas sometimes start to fight. So first of all, I'm going to go into some reasons why chinchillas might start to fight, so you can get an idea of what can cause a chinchilla to start not liking their cage mate. So okay, we all know that chinchillas are social animals, but sometimes chinchillas do not like other chinchillas and sometimes they cannot have cage mates. And there can be several reasons why a chinchilla might start fighting, so I'll go through some of the most common reasons why chinchillas might start to fight. So number one, if you have two young chinchillas, as they start to reach that sexual maturity type of age, so 10 to 12 months of age, they can start becoming quite territorial. Some chinchillas want to show dominance over the other chinchilla and it can result in fights breaking out. Now, fights can be like little scraps and not particularly serious, or they can be really serious. So if your chinchilla starts fighting, it probably is best to separate them. Now, why does this happen when they reach sexual maturity? It's more common with males, but also can happen with females. They just want to show dominance, and sometimes they can be highly territorial, and sometimes they can start showing signs of cage aggression as well, and they just will not tolerate other chinchillas within their cage area. They may be fine outside the cage, but once they're in the cage, they may show signs of cage aggression. So second reason why chinchillas might start fighting is if you have your chinchillas in a too small a cage, or a cage that hasn't got a lot to do in it, or if you're just overcrowded in general. An overcrowded cage can sometimes lead to stress, which can result in fighting because they get on each other's nerves, and if they're stressed out, it can cause aggression in chinchillas. So if you have a too small a cage, or you don't have enough in there, or if you've just got too many in the same cage, it can start to cause a little bit of cage aggression. Best thing to do in this case is upgrade your cage and provide lots of things for them to do in their cage. And if that doesn't work, then yeah, you're going to need to separate them. Number three, not having enough hiding spaces for your chinchillas. Now, I'm guilty of this one myself. I have 3 chinchillas in one cage, and they only had one house box. It was a big house box, but it wasn't big enough for all 3 chinchillas, and they did used to have falling outs over this house box because they all wanted to be in this nest box because it's nice and dark. So provide more than one nest box in your cage, and provide lots of hidey holes for your chinchilla, because that is where your chinchilla feels most safe. If they're fighting over the same space to feel safe, then that can cause cage aggression. It can cause all kinds of issues. So yes, lots and lots of different hiding spaces and different house boxes and nest boxes for your chinchillas, so they can each have their own area to go to sleep in and where they feel safe. They may all still want the same one, but at least you've provided options to them that they can go elsewhere if needs be. Next one is they can fight over food. Now, I've said this one before and I'll say it again, chinchillas are not rabbits. You do not need to limit the amount of pellets they have each day. You need to free feed your chinchillas, so feed them as much as they want, because generally chinchillas will not overeat on their pellets, and it's quite unusual for a chinchilla to become overweight by overeating on their pellets, unless there's other underlying issues with the chinchilla. So yeah, chinchillas aren't rabbits. I know there's a lot of really outdated information out there that says you have to limit the amount of pellets you give your chinchilla, but that's simply not the case. And if you're not giving your chinchilla enough pellets every day, then they may start to fight over that food. Especially if you're like me and you provide different pellets to your chinchilla within their food. Now, I provide them with their food, and I also provide them with like a treat pellet in there. It's just a different brand of pellet. If they like one pellet over another pellet, they will tend to fight over that food, especially if you're not feeding them enough. See, I know that some internet sites say just feed them 1 tablespoon of pellets a day. That's not enough, and if it's not enough, they will start to fight over it, because it is survival of the fittest at this stage, so they will fight over food. Also, I would say if you're feeding treats within their actual food and their actual pellets, like you're sprinkling a few herbs in there and some petals in there, and that can cause fighting as well, because each of them are going to want those treats and they will start to fight over them. So what I tend to do with treats is I tend to hand feed them to the chinchillas, so they've both got some and they're not fighting over that food bowl. Now, if you have got fighting and you think it's happening when you're feeding them, then maybe set up 2 different feeding stations for your chinchilla, so they each have a chance to get some food, and it takes the stress away of them having to fight over the same area and the same bowl of food. Next one. General stress can cause chinchillas to start fighting. So where you've got your cage situated, if you've got your cage in a busy area, that might start causing them to fight because they're not in a non-stressful, quiet environment, and when they're stressed out they can get more aggressive towards each other. So anything that can cause them stress, such as hallways, busy rooms, other pets, noise, being by a window, all these things can cause a chinchilla to stress out, and when they're stressed they're more likely to get aggressive towards each other. Finally, your chinchilla that's getting aggressive and territorial might actually be unwell. If a chinchilla is feeling under the weather, it might be they're stressed and they're taking it out on the other chinchilla. Now, I know this can happen in humans, that when you're feeling under the weather you become more snappy and you become more irritable. Same with chinchillas. If they're not feeling well, they can become more irritable. For example, if my chinchilla wasn't feeling well, he's more than likely going to bite me, and that's not because he's an aggressive chinchilla, it's just because he's fed up, he's not well, and he's irritable. Same for chinchillas with each other. If they're not well, they can start to, take it out on other chinchillas. There'll be other warning signs if your chinchilla's not well, such as weight loss. So you might notice some other signs if your chinchilla isn't well. So I'd say the most common reason for chinchillas to lose a bond is hormonal changes and showing territorial signs. That is the most common reason for chinchillas to lose that bond, is if they're reaching that age where they want to show dominance, they don't want a cage mate, and they just want to be on their own. If it is a dominance issue and they do start fighting and start injuring each other, the only thing you can do is actually separate them, and that is the best thing you can do. So it can be caused by stress and not having enough food and all these other environmental things as well. So yeah, just keep an eye on your own environment of your chinchilla. Make sure their environment is exactly what it should be for them. Make sure their husbandry is correct. Make sure that their just general environment's correct for them, and that may reduce the chances of your chinchillas falling out of love with each other. But in some cases they just do, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. And if they have lost that bond, best to separate them. I know it's a pain to have 2 separate cages, but they can still talk to each other, they'll still be able to see each other, they just don't have to interact with each other inside a cage, which is sometimes might work out the best for both chinchillas. So yeah, I hope you found this video informative and helpful, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in another video soon. Goodbye for now, and say goodbye to Quasar.